Everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of the Outlier Podcast. I've got Steve with me. Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good, sir. Can't complain. Today's what Tuesday. Waiting for the long weekend of 4th of July. So just counting days. But yeah, as well as excited to do this podcast. Sitting out of Manhattan, Midtown. Amazing weather. We can see the blue skies. So today's amazing, and we've got Steve with us. So that even makes it better. Uh, quick question. Not question. So let me do a quick introduction of Steve. So who Steve is? Steve is the CMO of Capital Credit Union based out of Appleton, one of the very serene places I love in this country. With Steve comes with an experience of almost 2.5 decades in marketing, right? Very similar background of ours. We've spent years in telco, retailers, now in financial services for the last 5 years. Steve loves what he does. We've truly found Steve as an outlier, and hence we thought of inviting Steve onto the podcast to have a quick episode with us. Steve, again, thank you for taking your time out to join us and chat with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here. And yeah, while we have branches and we're based in Appleton, our headquarters are actually right outside the shadows of Lambeau Field here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, so just a little north of Appleton.
Perfect. So, Steve, let's talk about your journey. So what has been your journey so far?
Yeah, my journey has been a interesting one over the last 20 years, 20 plus years actually. My journey began in telecom, so I with Time Warner Cable at the time. It's now Spectrum. But I started my marketing journey there. I like to tell people that I learned how to be a marketer in the telecom industry with Time Warner Cable. I learned how to be a leader when I left Time Warner Cable and joined up with Goodwill Industries of North Central Wisconsin and was on the retail side of things and led the marketing team there where we had 20 plus stores. And what was interesting about that was that the leadership journey that I learned how to be a leader there was about the human service side of the customer. So it's not so much about trying to push a product, but how do you connect that product to an emotion. So that was great learning ground there. And then how to be a leader with your teams.
Yep, that makes sense. So, Chris, so Steve, one question, right? Uh, Very similar, you've come across working with multiple industries. So why credit unions? What made you come to credit unions and stay here for the last 5 years?
Yeah, so I've had two stints at credit union in between that journey there, with two different credit unions, the one that I am with now and one previously. But the reason why credit unions were so attractive to me was, I think, on that human level. Credit unions are about serving the members. We don't call our customers customers; they're members to us because they're owners, and so they're a part of. You feel like that more of a family connectivity. You're all in it together type format and feeling. So to be able to come to an organization that really kind of lives out that overall credit union mission of people helping people, it makes the job a lot of fun and interesting in a number of ways. There's never a dull moment when you're in the credit union industry.
Sure, absolutely, right. Uh, so, Steve, across similar lines, right? So, what's interesting in your job right now? What's interesting? What's exciting?
Yeah, well, for us here at Capital Credit Union, what's exciting is that we're in a period of evolution. So I've been in my role for 3 years now, and in that 3 years, we've really transformed our brand from what it was when I first got here to what it is today. And with that transformation, you know, as I like to tell everybody within this organization, we have about 470 employees. And when I came here, it wasn't about a brand refresh, but it was about a brand evolution. And I believe that every good brand reaches points and periods of time when that brand needs to kind of evolve to meet the needs of who they're serving. For us, it's our members. And to meet those needs, it's about telling a different kind of story about how we're going to meet them where they're at and tell that in a way where we connect to them on an emotional level. So, what's been really exciting about all this is that we are we are really running hot, I like to say, in a sense that this engine is going and it's really starting to pick up some steam, and people across our footprint in the communities that we serve are really starting to recognize who Capital Credit Union is based off of that connection that we're trying to create and the story that we're trying to tell.
Just if you want to talk about more about your brand refresh, what did you do? Because that's a pretty interesting journey, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, for us, it's really based around two things. First is the vision that we have as an organization, and a lot of people look at this as not only they look at a vision, they also can maybe look at it a purpose statement, however you want to look at it as. But for us, it's about inspiring financial well-being for all through access, care, and collaboration. That is the foundation of how we tell our story. And then the second part to it is our mission. And at the end of the day, our mission really is um, to figure out, oh, we do the right thing. Our mission
Yep,
is we do the right thing, one member, one member, one employee, one experience at a time to strengthen the
yep,
communities we serve. So, um, you know, those two things are key pillars to how
yep.
we really leverage our brand, evolved our brand, and really connected and told those stories now about how we are going to achieve that throughout the communities and help our members grow.
Absolutely, right? So, Steve, coming on to the next section, I mean, I'm very bullish about AI. I mean, I'm very bullish about classical AI as well as generative AI because might be that's what I do for a living. That's the reason. But still, I mean,
Hmm.
nowadays, I mean, there's a minuscule amount of traffic, a very less traffic that's coming to our website from the AI engines because, we are still in the initial days. But things are changing, things are evolving, right?
Hmm.
More and more people are going to AI engines like a GPT or a Perplexity or maybe a
Hmm.
Claude, right? Or
Hmm.
so essentially the way how consumer behavior is changing. If I want to buy a new car, I
Hmm.
do not really prefer going to Google to get a convoluted answer of 10 different options. I would want to go to an AI engine to give me a structured content, structured response, which it means that you brands need to be visible to AI engines. Brands need to be where consumers are searching for you, right? Be it for
Yep.
financial institution, to be it for brands like Walmart or brands like a car manufacturer, like any consumer brand right now. But it's in the days of infancy, right? I mean, we're still gearing up for SEO. We are talking about SEO. We are talking about how to discover brands on search engines, but this is eventually changing. AI engines are the next future, and this will eventually happen, right? So, what are your two cents, Steve, on getting discovered on AI engines, and where do you think this journey is taking us?
Yeah, I think it's critically important to be aware and to be ready. I think if there's one key theme, I think to this conversation, and I think we started it, it's about that word evolution, right? And as marketers, we have to be very self-aware and very uh, um, in tune to what is the next best thing. And that AI journey that we're all on in different aspects is critically important. So for us here at Capital Credit Union, we do take that into account. One of our values is about forward thinking and making sure that we're thinking ahead about what's next and what is the next best thing, or how do we bring that next best thought into how we do our work every day, right? So whether it's, someone on the front line, a teller, or us in the marketing department, so when it comes to AI and search, yes, structuring our website, making sure that, we have the right tools in place and the right content in place that can still be attractive to those new forms of technology when it comes to Google and their AI and search engine and how they're kind of reinventing themselves and making it even easier for the consumer to be able to find what they're looking for. So we want to make sure that we're at the forefront of that.
Understand. So, where do you think data and AI as a whole, right, plays a role in marketing and
Hmm.
specifically in credit unions? Because credit unions are industries where typically we are still struggling with technology, right? We are still upgrading to technology, upgrading to faster, quicker, smarter systems, and it'll take time. But where do you think we are in the data and AI journey in marketing, specifically for creative niche?
Um, from a data standpoint and AI, we are we are right there. We use I'm going to back up. The one great thing about credit unions and financial industries as a whole is that we have a plethora of data. And I think that sometimes that can be really good and really scary
Yeah,
because it's very easy to get into this mindset of analysis by paralysis, right?
yeah,
So being able to use AI today is one of our strong suits in how we can kind of disseminate the data a little bit and dig in a little bit to be able to do that hyper targeting in certain areas based off of behavior that our members might have on our website or based off of behaviors that our members have with any of our use of products. It allows us to put the next best thing in front of them in a way that, for us and for the member to have a higher propensity for them to convert.
yeah. That makes sense. Uh, let's move into the next couple of questions. One is obviously, all of us have, I would say, walked our way around, right? Now, my question is around hard decisions, right, Steve? Definitely,
Hmm.
you haven't become a CMO of a decent size, large size credit union without taking hard
Hmm.
decisions in your life. Right? And that's the reason we call you outlier. Right? So, to talk about a hard decision in your life that actually paid off, because my audiences get inspired a lot from leaders like you.
Hmm.
So, Steve, I want to ask you about hard decisions, right? Essentially, uh, all of us have taken hard decisions in life, and specifically people like you who become leaders have taken hard decisions in life, right? Do you want to
Yeah.
talk about any hard decisions, Steve, that you took and that actually paid off? Because that's quite motivation for my listeners to talk about, to hear about leaders like you.
Yeah. You know, if I have to, as I think about this question and I think about my journey, my career journey, my life journey over the last 20 plus years in my profession, I've had to make a lot of hard decisions, Um, some of them are personal decisions that deal with life, but they always intersect with, the work that I want to do or the goals that I want to accomplish in my own life for myself. And I think one of those hard decisions that I can look back on, I guess you could say it was a fork in the road for me as to what direction I go
Mhm.
within my career, was back when I was with Time Warner Cable. It was probably right around 29, 30 years old. Um, the Time Warner Cable at that time was going through different stages of growth and consolidation,
Yeah.
is from what they were. Uh, but the decision that I had to make at that point in time was I applied for another job somewhere else, not knowing if I was going to have the opportunity to grow in the role that I had at that point in time and be promoted into a
Mhm.
leadership role.
Mhm.
So I had to make a decision. I applied for the other job. I went through all the process and I got that job. I got an offer. And then I hadn't quite realized or known exactly where my career could go with Time Warner Cable at that time. I didn't know if I was going to get promoted. I didn't know if I was going to be able to grow in that space. So I had to make a tough decision on whether I take this new opportunity and leave what I'm doing and venture off or stay and I don't want to say gamble, take a gamble, but
Mhm.
take a shot at, you know, seeing what would happen. Well, I decided to turn that role down and I decided to stay. And I think that was one of the big things that kind of launched my career in marketing leadership because
Mhm.
about 5 months after I made that decision, I was promoted. I was promoted to a manager, so I was in leadership. And from that point on, I think my career took off. And other opportunities presented themselves, especially at the time when the consolidations of the cable companies hit my
Yep.
front door and I had to make a
Sure.
choice. Well, they made a choice for me. um, and and then I had other opportunities elsewhere in marketing leadership. So I think that hard decision of sticking with it and seeing where it would take me has led me down to the path where I'm at today as CMO of Capital Credit Union.
That's interesting, right? So Steve, this was amazing. I mean, you spending these 20 plus minutes with us, sharing our journey and reinstating the fact that you're an outlier. So this was amazing, Steve. We would like to thank you for the time you spent with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me share part of my story. And I'm always happy to share more later if you ever want.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.